Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about how and why um, I did an ancestry test to find out who my father was. So I was talking to you about how I'm this color and my siblings are a more whiter, brighter Caucasian look than me. So as I was telling you before, I didn't get, treated the same as them, and this isn't at a bash you video or where I'm even going with all this. It's just my story, my truth, and I shouldn't feel ashamed of wanting to tell my truth. It helps me out to let me know that I didn't do anything wrong. And again, it goes back to where every parent has something that they feel guilty about. Okay? So, I did an ancestry DNA test, but when I was 40, I did take a DNA test with the person who my biological said that was my father. Well, I did a DNA test, and no, he wasn't my dad. So I did ask my biological. He gave me her number to ask her who my biological was, which I asked, and she didn't tell me. That was the last time I ever talked to her. It's been 15 years. The first time I seen her in 15 years was the day of my daughter's funeral. Ever since that day, I asked to, can you please tell me who my father is? That was the last time I seen her in 15 years since then. Mind you, I don't know where she lives. I don't have a phone number. My siblings say that she wants a relationship with me, but I haven't gotten a call or a card or anything yet. So that's my truth. I mean, I've forgiven her years ago, even when she didn't tell me. I've forgiven her. I didn't do anything wrong. You know, if anybody was in my shoes, they would have talked crap about the parent who did how they did them. And me, I always just ask why did you treat me like this? But now that I found out the truth and that I found my father, I know why she treated me different now. So I didn't find out to who my father was until after from 40 all the way to 53. I found out when I was 53 years old who my father was. So all my life I did not know. 40 years old, I took a DNA test, found out the person wasn't my father. But it was clear that he wasn't because he was Caucasian looking. But they all, my biologicals kept saying that, I have a white pointy nose and little lips, and you look like him. So I was like, okay, well maybe I do. You know what I mean? But there's got to be a reason why I was treated that way. So I did that DNA test with the person who they said was, the person who she said was my father. Come to find out he wasn't. So that was at 40. At 53, I found out who he was, and I got to see him October of 21. And he gave me a hug, he gave me a kiss. Like, that was the first time I ever had that from a parent. A hug, a kiss, and he told me he loved me. Now, mind you, I've never heard those words before. I love you from a parent. So that meant something to me. And I have siblings. I have a lot of siblings from my dad. He was in the Marines, Army. God forgive me, I don't know which one it was. And he has some children. I found in my ancestry DNA. I had a lot of hits And I just did a lot of research, asked questions through the hits and everything until I found my biological sister. And she knew who our father was. Like, well, who's your dad? Because we're sisters. She said, and I was like, oh my God, that's his name. Like, I lit up. I was like, I finally had a name. When I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, I finally have a name. Then I wound up getting a picture, and I was like, oh my God, now I know who I look like. So that was the best time of my life, was finding out his name and getting a picture. And so, because when I used to look in the mirror, I was like, who do I look like? Because I really, if it was like, oh, you look like your biological, I was like, okay, even if I did, that's your thinking. I wanted to see what my father looked like. And my father is a handsome dude. He's really, my older son looks just like him. When I went to go see him, I gave him a photo album of all my children, me, and when he pointed to my son Miguel, he was like, "Oh, he looks like me. He got my hair." Because my father has beautiful, beautiful hair. On so that's that part. That's what basically I really wanted to tell you guys, that um, after 53 years, I find out who my father was. And we do have a relationship. He calls me every now and again and everything, about at least 4 times a month. At least he tries to, and I try. And my father is suffering from dementia, so it's hard for him to remember. But I knew that, and that's why I gave him that photo album of all of me and my children, my grandchildren, and my husband, and stuff like that. So, again, this isn't a bash you. This isn't a bash you of any parenting skills, like I was saying. People, God, everybody has to get accountable for something. I'm not looking, but like I said, every parent feels guilty of something if they have a heart. If they have a heart, then they feel guilty of something. But now I know why I was treated differently. Okay? But I think I did good because I never was around like crackheads. I mean, who didn't smoke weed? You know what I mean? I dabbled in weed and other, stuff like that. But I wasn't around anybody to where, okay, I'm gonna get addicted to this and this. It just wasn't my thing. I tried it and didn't like it. If I tried it, I liked it, and after that, that was it. You know what I mean? I think I did pretty good. Any person, especially back then, they could have been prostitutes, this and this and that. God steered me in different ways. He kept me away from certain people to where I didn't become that. Those people who had to do those types of things, like drug addicts, prostitution. I wasn't nowhere near around it. God kept me away from that. And I will always be grateful to God, because it could have been worse. I really could have been that type of person. Now I'm not gonna lie. Me, how you say it? Back then, I can get drunk off of 3 beers or something like that. So I drank my behind off when my daughter's father was murdered. I nearly drunk myself to death. God knows I did. But do I do that now? No, because I knew my limit. I knew that God was watching, and I knew that He had my back and said, all right, Sandy, this is enough. I got you. And I'm always going to love God, because He always had my back. And I'm not going to say I never had a father, because I did have a father. His name is Jehovah God, and He's been watching over me ever since I was born. So I did have a father. He was my parent, honestly. He was my father. And He's been watching over me ever since, and my children. So that's my story. This is Black Diamond Misfit. Again, this is your girl, Black Diamond Misfit. This is my story, and I'm the only one that could tell it.